Hi, my name is Kenzie Long, and this week in class we talked about gender identity and its effects in professional sports. We also took our own individual gender tests to see if we categorized more masculine or feminine. Throughout these investigations, I had to ask myself what is involved with gender? When is it important to measure gender? When is it important to measure sex? And when and what should be done when gender is uncertain in elite sports? We also have to ask ourselves what is right, what is fair, who should be in charge of measuring gender oh. With these questions in mind, I will analyze the videos we watched in class this week along with the interactive websites and explain my answers and ideas on the questions above. Okay. Our first task was to take the BEM sex role inventory. What I learned from this what I learned from the results is my femininity measured at a 3.7, masculinity at a 3.5, at a 5.5, and neutral items were rated at 4.2. At initial glance, I was not very shocked by the outcome. The first question that arises um, is this an adequate measure of gender? I personally do not believe this quiz to be intuitive enough to be able to identify which gender one gravitates towards. The quiz focused on behavioral aspects and differences between each gender, although I felt as though the test barely scraped the surface and the questions given could be applied on multiple other focuses. For example, personality, introvert versus extrovert, etc. Should gender be measured as a as a dichotomous variable? I That means that there's only A or B, just so that everybody is aware. I believe that any person is allowed to choose whichever gender they want to be. With my knowingness and support for the LGBTQ community, I'm a firm believer that humans can specify to be any gender or even be gender neutral. Okay. The first video we watched was a video published back in 2009 about a South African runner who was put under investigation to determine whether she should be classified as a male or female when competing in elite sports. When is it important to measure sex? In regards to Castor, the female runner in question, I don't believe the commencement of tests being run to determine whether she should be qualified as a woman. I feel as though it is degrading and a bad representation of all elite sports companies everywhere. Things start to get a little tricky here. If Castor were previously a male and had the anatomy to support the gender, she should not be qualified to run with women. But in the video, that was never determined. Castor is a woman with masculine features, yes. If gender is unclear, what should we do? We should look at the birth certificate. That's your clear-cut answer. If there's any confusion determining sex of a player, it is inappropriate, in my opinion, to conduct specialized tests. Previous information and studies have proven that estrogen and testosterone levels can vary regardless of your sex. If your sex is male or female. It is out of Castor's control that she's built more masculine, and it shouldn't hinder her ability to compete in the sport that she's passionate about. If we look at the second video, Gabby is a transgender woman playing on a college basketball team. She had previously been a male playing in the 80s when she was first in college, and so now she's back after a sex change. This situation differs from Castor's because Gabby is not playing on an elite sports team, first of all. It has also been made clear that Gabby has received a sex change and was previously male. At that point, I believe it is up to the college to determine whether she qualifies to play as a woman. But after undergoing a physical sex change, Gabby, in my opinion, is a woman. Other differences between Gabby and Castor's situation is Castor never claimed to previously being a male or transgender. Castor is a woman with outside influencers assuming the gender from physical appearances, which then lead to a series of tests being run to determine if she had a condition that made her more masculine. Gabby was a male until undergoing physical cosmetic surgery to become the sex she preferred. There was never any assumption involved. Okay, the last video we analyzed during this assignment was about a South Korean soccer player named Park. Park was facing backlash because she was questioned about her gender. This relates very closely to Castor, the South African runner, because they are both women facing gender identity backlash because of their physical appearances. Once again, I believe we can determine the sex of the player simply by looking at the birth certificate. Both situations involving Park and Castor are inhumane and wrong. Both women are having their sex be determined by physical appearances, which then led to tests being run to govern whether the women are too masculine or have underlying conditions. Park even spoke on the investigation being conducted, and she was humiliated. I am under the impression that this is a violation of human rights and disrespectful to both Park and Castor and any other man or woman facing the same struggles because of this. Okay. We were required to interact with with one last activity. This was from the bio interactive activity, and that taught me the differences between the male and female anatomy. The website informed me of the different ways the website informed me of the different ways gender testing is used within female sports as well. Bio Interactive says defining male and female is complex because gender can be viewed from multiple perspectives. This sentence right here can be used to answer a question that we previously asked: should gender be measured as a dichotomous variable? Which once again means that there's only answer A or B, male or female. It's just those two answers. There are multiple variables that go into determining gender according to this website: anatomy, psychology, or physiologically, chromosomal makeup, and genetic makeup. My question is this necessary when dealing with women in elite and professional sports? If yes, wouldn't it only be fair to make all the players conduct the same tests? Good point. With this assignment, I was able to apply what I previously knew and use new information to determine my views on gender. I learned that there is inequality and biasness within women's elite sports teams. This is unfortunate. It is unfortunate Castor and Park had to be used as an example. I imagine I imagine that it is traumatizing for those women to be judged or categorized based on their physical appearances, which then led to them having to participate in further testing. We have to ask ourselves what is right, what is fair, and who should be in charge in determining gender. In conclusion, I believe your gender belongs to you, and you are the only person who decides what you identify as. Regarding gender in sports, it is only fair to make all players conduct a gender test if qualified to play in order to keep a clear and level playing ground for everyone involved. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great summer.